Absolutely. The first thing I want to say is I called it fear forward because I really, honestly, genuinely believe that the only way to truly move forward in your life, and not just tiny baby steps, I'm talking quantum leaps forward, giant steps forward. The only way to move forward is to face your fears. Well, not necessarily audience size, but that does play a role. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually bridge the two concepts together for you. Fear forward and the whole fear of speaking specifically. That way I've covered both. Here's the idea. You're only going to move forward in life if you face your fears. That's number one. But number two, I want people to understand that we've moved away from the word fear, honestly. We'll talk about anxiety, being nervous, having a challenge, an issue, a problem, or I'm stressed. But the truth is, if you peel all those away, those labels away, you'll find fear sitting underneath. And so what we are traditionally, when we think of fear, we think that we fear that which we don't know. What we call FOTU, F-O-T-U, fear of the unknown, right? I'm invited to speak at a conference. There's 50 CEOs there. Or like you said, there's 10,000 people. Or it's even a boardroom with 7. But I'm terrified of speaking. Now, people think they're afraid because they're afraid of uncertainty. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm afraid of the unknown. But the truth is, what you're really afraid of is the known. And the known is the past. If you have an upcoming speech, you're not afraid of what you don't know about that presentation. What you're afraid of is re-experiencing something from your past in this next upcoming event. Really, we're afraid of history repeating itself. I'll give you an example. I was invited to speak at a young leaders development program in Dubai. There was the co-founder of Nintendo speaking. There was a VP of Boeing speaking. There was Nestle CEO, I believe, was speaking there. There was an astronaut, a Nobel Prize winner, some pretty impressive speakers. Now, I noticed that I was there to speak about overcoming your fear of speaking. Now, the organizer of the event was speaking to the youngsters, teenagers, and was saying, who would like to answer this question? And he noticed there was a table next to me where the girls didn't want to take the mic. They didn't want to speak. They avoided eye contact. They looked away. And so he said, hey guys, you're never going to break your fear of speaking unless you practice. He said, let's just take a break. I walked over to that table, and I'll never forget this young girl named Tamara. And I said, Tamara, I just ask you, you're clearly nervous about speaking. Well, how come you turned down his invitation to speak? She's like, oh, I'm scared. I said, I know, but what are you afraid of? And she said, I guess I'm afraid of the unknown. I don't really know. And I said, well, no, you can't be afraid of something you don't know because you need some information, some substance, some content in your mind to generate an emotion, to generate a fear. And she's thought about it and she said, well, to be honest with you, I've never spoken before. How can I be afraid of some past event happening if there isn't a past event, frankly? And I said, that's because you don't recognize a past event. You think it has to be a big room like this with a big stage and you carrying a microphone. And so once I helped her realize it has to be a similar event, guess what it was? She was in grade, 6 or 7. She stood up, the teacher asked her a question, and she spoke broken English, and they laughed at her. The students in her class laughed at her. And I said to her, what are you afraid of happening today? And guess what? Danielle, she was afraid of the exact same thing. Them laughing at her broken English. Now here's the magic. I coached her I had a little bit of time. I coached her, not all the way, but I made a serious impact. I got on stage. It was my turn to speak. And I thought to myself, Tamara, hey, would you like to come up and say a few words? I didn't tell everyone what I did with her. She was the smallest, shortest girl in the room, the youngest girl in the room. She stood up, walked towards the stage. Danielle, it was like the sea parted before her as she navigated through all the people. She got to the stage and said, what do you want me to say? With confidence. And I said, I don't know. Tell me about discipline. What are your thoughts on this? Made something up. Tell me your thoughts on discipline. She spoke a few words. They gave her a standing ovation. I'm telling you, this little pussycat, this little scared pussycat walked off the stage like a full-grown lion. And you could hear the roar in the audience. It was such a beautiful thing. That's where our fears come from. And I'll tell you a little bit about Speakology in a second, but I think you have a follow-up.
All right, just let me go back there.
Yep.
Fear of the unknown. Does that mean if I cross that fear barrier, I stood on that stage and I took the mic and I did it, does that mean that next time I won't be having that fear again? What lies beyond that fear?
Good question. That's why I said to you, I didn't go fully with her. I didn't fully help her because I didn't have the time. But I cleared what I call a source event or a source incident. See, I cleared one source incident in her class and she was able to speak that day. But there could be multiple source incidents, multiple reasons for this fear. And you got to take care of all the components. Yes, you sometimes when you cross that fear barrier, as you said, by clearing a past event, you're done. But, yep, that means there's multiple incidents that you haven't cleared. That's number one. Number two, that doesn't mean you're totally immune to being anxious, nervous, or afraid as a speaker, because I coach someone who works at the UN and she called me one day and said, Oudi, I hate you. And I said, why? She said, because I'm speaking to 11 world leaders. I said, that's a great opportunity. She said, I know, but I'm terrified. When I coached her, she kept getting promoted and promoted. And now she's reached a level that she considers to be out of her comfort zone, which just means that this has exposed a fear she's not aware of, a deeper fear from her past. Now, Danielle, let me mention one other thing. I mentioned at the beginning about fear that if you want to move forward in life, you got to face your fears, right? But once you clear your fears, the fears you're conscious of, as you move forward in life, you will uncover fears you never knew you had. Unconscious fears. See? So when you clear your fear, your threshold, as you called it, you're now speaking, but you might be speaking on a greater stage, or you might be speaking to a higher caliber of people that could re-trigger or uncover those unconscious fears that you thought, or you never knew you had, or you thought you buried. That's why the secret to moving forward, think of it like a slingshot. As a kid, did you ever used to play with a slingshot? Well, here's the fear forward method. It's a method. It's not just the title of the book. The fear forward method realizes that if you want to move forward in life, you actually, like the rock, you got to pull it back. That's why we go to the past and clear past what we call source events or source incidents. And at the same time, when you take someone back, like the rubber bands being stretched, you got to stretch your perspective on a past event. That's basically how you move forward.